It's just a matter of out back in 5. We meet out back for lunch. We had lunch quite often and shared a lot of stories. He knew I was a motorcycle enthusiast, and the KLR wasn't his first bike. Ann, his mother, told me the story of they went to one of their neighbors and the neighbor had a new bike, and Mahito just asked if he could sit on it. And of course the neighbor obliged, and the first thing Mahito did was grab the mirror and break it off. So he broke the first bike he ever got off. My experience with Mahito, as far as riding goes, I got my R1, thus the R1 rated name. I didn't come up with that, actually. One of my best friend's wives did. Kind of stuck with me now, but he ended up getting a bike shortly after I did, and that's a KLR, and I'm sure you guys have seen a couple of the pictures of Mahito and I on the coast. We rode the coast quite often. We also rode Carmel Valley Road and a lot of the other tight windings around there. Mahito ended up, he came to me one day and he said, "Hey, I want to try Hollister Hills on this KLR," and I'm like, you know, it's not the best bike for out there, but you can probably get around. I brought him out. You guys know where I ride and how I like to ride. The big man followed me everywhere. And even when he did flail on that bike, he got right back on it and did it again. And this is when it was new and still had street tires on it. The guy could go anywhere on that bike. Eventually, he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I found this old YZ. I'm sure a few of you saw it. Just an old beat up YZ, didn't run, flat tires, blown seals." I said, "Nah, you should pass on it." Next thing I know, he called me in the evening and said, "Hey, I picked it up." The next thing I know, I'm donating parts, and that bike went along for a while. And then a friend of mine said, "Hey, I've got some bikes for sale, come look at them." Another coworker, Henry, and I went and looked at the bikes, and we passed on them, but I picked up the phone, I said, "Dude, there's this bike. Looks just like you should get it." Next thing I know, he's got the big red pig. And we all know him for being on that bike and not on the KTM. But he eventually got the KTM, and he was very excited about that bike. People around work said, "Hey, there's events going on," and he basically, when he got the KTM, said, "Forget it, you know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be on my new bike out at Hollister Hills." And I talked to him the day over chat when he came out here, and I tried to convince him to go play RC cars with me or something. He's like, "No, I'm going out riding." And while accidents do happen, and that's exactly what it was. Mahito came up through this trail, his throttle stuck, he hit that tree, he went down the embankment. All the rangers and the people who were here did everything that they could to save his life. But ultimately, we all know he slipped away from us. I've struggled with some of the things I've gone through regarding bringing him out here initially.